The person that you see before you is a person that I know very well. I got to spend 7 hours a day, 5 days a week with this person. Her name is Mrs. Bushman, and she's my 7th grade teacher. And no matter what was going on in class when it came to Mrs. Bushman, she was always negative and disparaging when it came to me. Like many of my classmates, I had dreams and aspirations of one day being a lawyer or a singer, or maybe even both. But those dreams would be stifled when my parents and I found out that I was dyslexic. Yes, dyslexic. In the 7th grade is when I found out. So I came along later in life from my parents. They had successfully graduated 5 other children from the same school district, but had never encountered this problem before, as some would diagnose it, or this challenge. So today as educators, we know the importance of diagnosing learning differences at an early age and the value of preschool education. But remember, I was just 12 years old in the 7th grade. I can recall Mrs. Bushman receiving my paperwork and saying, "Donnell, I figured as much. You're just different from the rest of the kids." Mrs. Bushman reassured me that my goals and dreams and aspirations were going to be difficult and maybe even unattainable. I remember sitting there thinking about, wow, is this true? Is this real? I want you to think about how damning those words were to me. How those words set me behind a curve. How those words stifled my dreams. Without the lack in support, I struggled. I had to work 10 times harder than my counterparts in the classroom to read and process the work. So now I had a teacher who doubted me, so I began to doubt myself. I began to second guess whether or not I could actually do the work in the classroom. But I was a leader. I was in student council. I was involved in the community. So it confused me because I had always led. I had always been involved. I can recall another conversation. We were talking about college in the classroom. And like most kids, we get excited. And I can recall Mrs. Bushman saying, "I don't know if you're college material. It's just too far-fetched for you to obtain." I sat there broken, devastated, disappointed. Is this really true? And guess what? Those words resurfaced when I went to college, when I was sitting taking that test. Those words resurfaced when I was in that master's program. Could I do it? But I wasn't 12 years old anymore. It would be 2 years later when I would meet a teacher who would change my life, who would impact me in ways that I could never be impacted before. And her name was Mrs. Woods. And she believed in me. And she gave me hope. Mrs. Woods was tough, and she didn't take any stuff in her classroom. But everybody was equal, and everybody was treated fair. And she held every one of us accountable in that classroom. But she told me, "I believe in you." She said, "I believe in you, Donnell, with dyslexia, that you can do it. And no matter what, I'm going to keep pushing you." She told me, "Yes, you can." That's what Mrs. Woods told me. She told me, "Yes, you can." And so then I began to believe that I could do it, that I could be successful in the classroom. While my parents never went to college, they were really hard workers. My mom, a phlebotomist, she worked 35 years in the profession, and her work ethic was unmatched and still is. My father, he didn't graduate from high school. He dropped out when he was 16. And he worked every day until he retired as a maintenance engineer man at a local hospital. That's where they met. But they taught me how to work hard. They taught me how to be persistent. They taught me how to not give up and pay it forward. And that grit and determination has made me the man who I am today. So I want you to think about how important it is to build relationships and connect with students. So when students have a good relationship with teachers, they are more than likely to have a positive, efficient experience in the classroom. We know that. I thank God every day that I met Mrs. Woods and that she believed in me and that she encouraged me. And it just didn't end with Mrs. Woods. I had a guidance counselor who believed in me, who encouraged me, who helped me navigate this arena called college. I had a college professor once I got there who believed in me, my English professor who encouraged me. I had the dean of students who also invested in me. I had the vice president of enrollment management who invested in me. And all of those individuals shaped the man who I am today and ultimately helped me be in the career that I am today. I also want to thank Mrs. Bushman because I wouldn't be here without Mrs. Bushman. She motivated me to work hard and to be where I'm at today. Despite all the odds and all the obstacles, she motivated me to be the best that I can be. So there's 3 things that I want you all to take away from this story. The first thing is that preschool education matters. Identifying learning gaps at an early age matters, and it's essential that it's essential as educators that we identify those gaps. 42% of white males and 52% of white female children test ready for kindergarten, while only 20% of African-American males and African-American females test ready for kindergarten. This is the greatest crisis facing America, the opportunity gap. I want you to think about this. We live in the richest country in the world. And on average, our teachers only make $40,000 a year. What if the opportunity gap was as simple as having the right people in the right place at the right time? What if our teachers had a fair pay wage? This is the greatest crisis facing America. What are we going to do about it? Secondly, perception matters. Having someone who looks like you in the classroom matters. Seeing yourself in someone else matters. And research shows that. And a recent study showed that having just one black teacher in the 3rd grade, 4th grade, or 5th grade can reduce low-income black boys' probability of dropping out of high school by 39%. 39%. In addition to that, black and brown children start kindergarten 7 to 12 months behind in reading skills and 9 months to 10 months behind in math skills compared to their white counterparts. I want you to think about those negative messages that could come off to our students and impact them. Black and brown children and poor white children as well. I want you to think about how those messages impact them. That representation matters in the classroom. And finally, human interaction matters. The ability to connect with each other and build relationships with students in the classroom matters. And it is essential that we as educators, we as a community, encourage our children, believe in our children. They are our future. And we have to decide who we're going to be. We have to decide if we're going to be the change agents in the community to really shape this community to be the best community it can be. So who are you going to be? Are you going to be Mrs. Bushman or Mrs. Woods? Choose wisely because our children's future matter. And remember, yes, you can be the change agent. Yes, you can be the difference. Thank you.